Hello, everybody. There we go. Hey.
Can you see? Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's good. Great. There's no delay as far as I can tell.
Okay, yeah. I do not know why it's so different on my phone. if you want to just kind of get the show going, I'm gonna go get a pair of headphones so I don't get the
Yeah. No
feedback.
problem. This is
And
perfect.
okay,
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this show. And yes, you are joining in as we are trying to make technology work. And this is the wonderful thing about going live. You know it's live because, well, sometimes there's struggles. And right now, Dillon is, we can see the nice roof of his cabin that he's at. And he's going to go get some headphones and he'll be right back. Yo, Banger, I love Dillon. All right, I'm going to have to pull this back up when Dillon's here so he can see all that. But hello. Oh, hey, we got Yvette here. Hello. We've got Bob. Stinky, gonna bring your comment up when Dillon gets back. Hello to Turtle Tom, Mr. Cross, Annabelle, and Mikey Ben, Eliza, Ann, and maybe Mikey Ben. Don't know if he's gone back to the hockey though. All right, we just lost Dillon. Oh no! Hello, Joanne. All right. Can we? Can you hear us?
Yes. Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect.
If I disappear, it's just because I'm going to my Bluetooth settings to get my my headphones plugged in, so I can still hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, you got to see this. I had to save this one because you got fans out there.
Oh, great. Awesome. It's good to see everybody. I'm disappearing for just a second, but I'm still in the show. I'll be right back.
All right. He'll be back. Reptiles and Research. Is this a channel swap? I'm not sure about that terminology, but we are streaming to both channels. So I've got this show on. This is a Misty Forest Dragon show where we're talking about YouTube and starting a reptile YouTube channel. And Dillon is coming on to kick off our second week. And of course, the wonderful thing about these streaming software is you can stream to multiple channels. And so Dillon is streaming to his channel and I'm streaming to mine. And because this is a community and we all are together in this. Deacon NG says, I love you. Not sure if that's if you're loving me or Dillon, but all right. Well, Dillon, there's
good.
an I love you. That may be for you. I don't
know. I'll take it. Can you hear me?
You'll take that. All right. Dillon, I love your channel. Learned so much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And Reptiles and Research. Oh, there he is. He's asking if this is a channel swap. And it's a collab.
Yeah, it's a collab. And I actually didn't realize that you could cross stream onto like with a guest, you know, that I'm streaming this on my channel as well. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we are, for those of you on the Misty Forest Dragons channel, we are in the middle of November Madness, where we're doing an entire month all about starting your own reptile YouTube channel. And every weekday, there's another episode that talks about an aspect of starting your YouTube channel. And so you're getting a 20 episode tutorial through the month of November. And every Sunday, we kick off the new week with an interview with a prominent reptile YouTuber. And this week, it's Dillon Perron of the Animals at Home podcast. So,
thank you so much for having me, Bill. You're the king of great ideas. You're always doing these things, and I'm always happy to be a part of it. So thank you for having me.
Oh, this has been a blast. I got to tell you, doing a long form episode a day, it's a rush.
I can only imagine.
Oh boy, it's a lot of fun. And so every day is a tutorial of a certain subject. Last week was about just starting a YouTube channel, figuring out how to put one together. This week, it's all about releasing your first video. And my wonderful wife, Yvette, Misty Mountain Fans, has been wanting to start her Misty Mountain Fans YouTube channel. She does a bunch of shorts, but wanted to start the long form. And so she's following along. And so in the middle of every episode, I call it halftime, we bring her on and ask, how's it going? And so this is all in real time.
And I love it. I love it.
So she launched her first long form video yesterday. And so we'll get I'll interview her this afternoon for tomorrow's halftime. So
Perfect. Cool. That's great.
yeah. So let's just going in and check in the chat to make sure I keep up on things, because when I start talking, I get behind in the chat. So. All right. So Dillon, let's just kick off this session here. But first of all, I'm going to ask Dillon a question about him starting YouTube. But everybody in the audience, this is a chance for you to ask either Dillon or me about starting YouTube. Any of those questions that you have about starting off. Mikey Ben has got a question. We're going to get to his first. But then please put it in the chat. While we're having this little bit of conversation, put your questions in the chat. This isn't meant to be an interview between me and Dillon. This is making us available to talk about you starting a channel and what questions you may have. So with that, Dillon, this week is all about starting your launching your first episode. So can you reach back into the mists of time and bring us back to when you started your first episode, and how was that experience?
Yeah, so that would have been 7 years ago, because I started in 2017, and my first 8 months or 9 months of the YouTube channel had nothing to do with the podcast. It was just videos. I was doing some DIY type things and making stuff for my snakes and whatnot. And it was just one of those things that I did on a whim. I did a couple, like I said, DIY enclosure videos and decided to throw them up on YouTube. But I was pretty nervous about it, and also I never told anybody. I think my wife was the only person in my family that knew for probably a year that I was doing this, so it was like my own little secret. But yeah, I do not watch those videos, obviously, because the quality and everything is so bad. But yeah, that's when I started, about 2017, and it's been fun since then.
Why did you start?
At the time, I was really just looking for something to do. Like I've for people that listen to the podcast, they probably have heard me tell this story before, but I swam. My whole life was focused on competitive swimming. That's still my day job. I coach at the university where I live. And in 2016 is when I retired from the sport. So by the summer of 2017, I was really itching. I needed something to do. You basically needing to replace 25 hours a week of training time with something. I was just fiddling. And so I started with this blog, animalsathome.ca. I was just writing some articles. And then that's what led into the videos. I'm like, if I'm going to write some articles, then maybe I could make a video or two. At the time, this was kind of the crest of PetTube. For those that you would remember PetTube, we have lots of these channels kind of blowing up of just mostly younger kids with lots of pets in their basement, essentially, feeding animal videos and whatnot. And so I was like, I'm going to do it. And fairly introverted person, but I just went out and just pulled the trigger without talking myself out of it. And yeah, that's why I started.
Okay. Well, Mikey, we are going to get to that question, but I want to bring up this one. What are some of the drawbacks you were not thinking of when you started your channel? What did you discover?
That's a good question. It's very time consuming. It's a lot of work. So you don't really think of that part of it, because the thing is, I'm sure we'll talk about this, or if you don't talk about it today, it'll be something that Bill talks about through the month. If you want it to be successful, you have to dedicate a ton of time, and there's a little bit of money, but mostly it's time. And I think when I started, because of the way my mind works, I definitely want to see things through, but I didn't really think about what that meant to see things through. And now I'm like, okay, I'm spending a lot of time every week, 7 years later, still working on this project. So that would be one thing. I think there's also, if you get negative feedback and whatnot, that's something that you don't really think about. And thankfully, I don't get a ton of negative feedback. People are pretty happy with the content that I produce, but sometimes you do. And I remember that would be a big learning curve at first, not taking that personally and not even getting into those battles, that sort of stuff. So I would say those are some big ones.
You know what? I actually start getting addicted to the negative feedback. It's like, if I don't get it within a certain amount of time, I'm thinking, have I slowed down or something? Am I no longer relevant? Where are the haters?
Yeah.
There
is an element of that, right? If you're doing content that's a little too safe, you're probably missing about a ton of audience members.
Yeah. it's like, I've lost my edge. I'm not pushing things forward. You don't get that if you're not pushing things forward.
Totally.
So, all right, we're going to pick up Mikey's question here. Thoughts about creator stress, burnout, coming up with new content to retain viewers.
First, I don't know what hockey game he's watching because the Jets played yesterday. So, Mikey, I don't know what teams are cheering for. It makes no sense. But as far as creator burnout, that's a good question. I mean, it definitely happens. And the way that it happens is when you don't see results, because there's this you can work very hard on a stretch of videos and you may not see results. And many times that's what happens. And it doesn't mean you won't see results eventually with that work, but you don't get that immediate feedback of it being good. So you can burn yourself out so quickly doing that because you're like, wow, I just spent like so much time, so much energy doing this. And, I didn't really get much for it. And if you do that too often in a row, you really will start to burn out. So two things. One, I really built the habit of not relying on the results and just going back to process. This is the process. And it's the same skills I picked up as an athlete, right? You don't necessarily achieve your goal right away. You go back to process. What's the process? The process is finding good guests, structuring good episodes, trying to do the best I can on the thumbnail and the title, and recording the best episode I can, right? Being prepared for having a really good conversation with somebody. And I know there's episodes that I put out that should have done better because the conversation is good and they just don't. And you don't dwell on that. You go, maybe one day it will take off, maybe not, but you just move to the next one. So that's one thing. The second thing is too, like, how do you, the worry of not having new content, that used to be a big thing for me. You almost hesitate to create new content because let's just say you have this great idea. It's like, I'm going to make this amazing video. For me, my first thought is, if I make that amazing video, what's my next amazing video going to be? And that can be a problem, right? Because you stop yourself from doing the first video because you're like, I'm going to need to have an amazing follow-up. You don't need to, because the next video will come to you at some point. So just work on the idea, get the video out, and then another idea will eventually come to you. It doesn't need to be every single Tuesday at 9 a.m. type thing.
And Mikey, I'll say, this is where having a focus on what your purpose is. For those who've been following this series, the second episode in this series was all about purpose and promise, and that the purpose is, what is it you're getting out of this, this effort that you're putting in? The promise is what your viewer is getting out of it. And when you have those things locked in and you understand and they work together, then you're able to focus on that purpose. What is it you really want out of this? And this is not like a philosophical feel-good, print out the meme and put it on the wall of your office thing. This is literally survival, because if you need that focus to get through the times where there's no encouragement, shall we say, from YouTube giving you those views and subscribers and all those, call them digital candies that keep you going. Mm-hmm. And to keep going, you need to have a North Star that you're going towards, or else creator burnout is so easy. And I'll bring it from a personal perspective. I love doing crazy ideas that are not in the normal way of doing things. I just love I love jumping on top of the box. And like earlier this year on my Chameleon Academy channel, I, for various reasons, wanted to prove myself that I could do videos. And so I did a daily vlog, and I did it for 52 episodes. It was a rush. It was incredible. I lived on adrenaline and I had a blast doing it, but I did not get anything back that I really needed from doing that. There was no jump in subscribers other than the normal amount. There was no jump in views any more than just, okay, you did another video and you got the same amount of views. And so there really wasn't any I would call it reward or return on that investment, because when I was doing that, I wasn't doing anything else. And so there not being a return on the investment and realizing this is not, if I'm not getting anything to support my channel from this, it's not really doing anything for my community other than burning them out. Because I did premieres and everybody got up at 5 a.m. in the morning to be a part of these premieres. It was incredible. And I can talk about the benefits of the unexpected benefits that came out of that, which totally changed my direction. So that there's a story in there, but that's not answering this question. So you need to, my decision to stop it at 52 was, okay, I've proved my point to myself, but I'm stopping this now because it's not serving the channel or my purpose. So, you know, it helps. Instead of getting despondent, I said, okay, I'm going to change course.
Yeah. Well, I think what you just said is so important because it paid off in a way that you didn't imagine, right? Like it paid off in a different way. And you kind of alluded to, learning other stuff about now that you can implement. So that's why you go back to the process, because the process, you don't get distracted by not getting the result that you think you should get. Now you've opened your mind up to a different result that's actually valuable as well. It's just not what you thought was going to happen.
It's something that totally surprised. So
exactly.
It was. So, Dillon, do you edit on mobile?
No. I mean, I guess if I was to do like maybe a reel, no, I don't do any editing mobile. So Liam, who's in here, or he was in here, Reptiles and Research, he edits the podcast for me. So he does all the actual, like the real meat and potatoes of the editing for the show. I do edit all the reels and the shorts, but I do that all on Adobe Premiere. I don't even know how Gen Z does this on their fingers with their phone. It just drives me nuts to be able to do that. So whoever can do that, more power to you. But no, I don't do that.
Yeah, I've been using CapCut and trying to use it on iPad, just so I can answer a question like that. But it is miserable.
Yeah, it really is. I feel so claustrophobic when I do it. I just like it makes my skin crawl. I don't know why, but some people are super fast and they're good at it.
Well, it's one thing about doing short form video. It works really well for that because short form video is optimized for doing this quick stuff. But when we're talking about long form videos on mobile, that's a lot of computing power. It's a lot of crushing features into a real small screen. So it can be done. CapCut is one that I've been working with, and it is functional. But it will be a skill to be able to use that app.
Totally. Yeah.
So here's a unique way to start your journey. Just be interviewed by Dillon.
That's right. I try to convince people to start channels as well. Yeah, Liam. Yeah, that's right. Liam's first episode with me, he didn't really have a YouTube channel, and then we convinced him to do it, and the rest is history.
Annabelle's asking, what was the biggest learning curve? Content ideas, editing, equipment setup.
I would say, okay, and Bill, you'd be able to relate to this, is the editing audio was a big learning curve for me, especially early on, because I came into the podcast space without having any knowledge of audio at all. And I quickly, and as soon as I started looking at it, I realized how little I knew. And then you're spending time like listening to your voice over and over, and you become like ear blind. Or like deaf to your own. It's a very strange thing. You can't tell, like, does this sound good or does this sound absolutely horrible? Like you almost destroy your ears in a weird way. That was a big learning curve, which took me even a few years to figure out. Like if you go back to my early episodes, I cannot stand the way my audio sounds. And now I'm very happy with it because I figured out how to do it. So that's probably one of the bigger ones. And just interviewing people too. Like, I think this was before maybe this went live, but Bill was talking about the free flow of my show. That's become a skill as well, like learning how to talk with people and getting the best stories out of them, and also being comfortable asking sometimes uncomfortable questions. That's a learning curve as well.
Okay. On my side, there's been so much to learn. I think the biggest challenge for me was being able to talk to the camera. Mm-hmm. I started with podcasting, still love podcasting. And if YouTube ever goes down, I'm going back to my first love. But I had to learn how to speak to the camera, and I can't read while I'm on camera because you can see my eyes going back and forth. I know there's these teleprompters and all this kind of stuff, but that's a skill in itself. And so that was my biggest challenge. Now, my second biggest challenge is backgrounds. I am not yet happy with any of my backgrounds, and so that's still a challenge that I'm working on.
Yeah.
But I think, Annabelle, I think the biggest thing for me that stopped me from being on YouTube and starting my YouTube channel, everything else is just growth. It's just, okay, I don't like my backdrop, but it's fine. And if I didn't mention it, nobody notice anything's wrong. But me as an artist, I want it to look better. I want my storytelling to be better. So all these things are things that you just grow after you start. But if there's one thing that stopped me from really dedicating to the YouTube channel, it was being able to talk naturally to the camera.
Yeah, that's a skill for sure.
Yeah. And by the way, if you guys haven't heard this story, the way I got over that was I just took out my Instagram app and I hit go live. And that was 3 years ago. And I have gone live twice a week for the last 3 years. And boy, it works. It works when you are forced to carry a conversation, especially when no one's in the room, for a complete hour.
That's it's a really hard thing to do when you're just trying to read comments and have conversations with people who are typing. I can't even do that.
So, oh, by the way, got to,
I noticed.
Home.
Thank you so much for repping the merch.
That's right. And let's see, Amy's Reptiles. What's up, Dillon? Didn't know you guys were doing these episodes. It's pretty cool. Glad I'm catching this. Currently have a reptile channel, 560 subscribers so far. Any advice helps.
Well, congrats on having the channel at 500 subs. Is actually that's a really solid number.
Yeah,
it takes a long time to kind of get to the point where you can get into the hundreds, and the next, obviously the big hurdle for you will be 1,000, and you'll be there in no time for sure. The best piece of advice is literally just keep making videos, because and I know that's kind of like doesn't sound like great advice, but you need to make enough videos to figure out what type of videos you want to make. And if you're trying to make videos that you don't enjoy, you can't do it. And so even if you found a video that seemed like it was successful, if you don't enjoy it, there's just no sustainability. So the best thing is just to find like the recipe, the type of video that you can just enjoy doing, and then you will be set and you'll find your audience. And that's what I think is the number one thing with a newer channel.
I'll say the advice about just keep going, just keep making videos. That is the most common advice, to the point where everybody's tired of hearing it and everybody's tired of saying it, but it is the most true advice. And I think of it as, when you're starting, I'd say 90% of your effort goes into, how do I do this? And 10% of that effort goes into, what am I doing and what message am I coming across? And as you keep making those videos every single week, the amount of effort that goes into, how do I do this, shrinks. And that opens up the space for, where am I going? What am I doing? How am I serving my community? What do I want to accomplish here? And so the more, just the volume of videos that goes out helps you increase your, I'd say, the what's important about your channel, instead of just how to make it happen. Let's see. Yvette is asking, did you find interviewing guests easier than tutorials?
Yes, because I enjoyed it a little bit more. I love working with my hands. I love building things, but I don't actually enjoy filming myself do it very much, because I like to be engrossed in the project, and doing a filming tutorial with that can be kind of, it's a little bit cumbersome, because you're not really building, you're building for the camera. And it's a different thing, where you take someone like Tanner from Serper Design, he's amazing at that. And it's just second nature to him. So I much preferred interviewing people. Plus it solved my problem of having to, you can only build so many things when you live in an apartment. I would run out of DIY tutorials. So it solved the problem of having continuous content. I could constantly have something interesting, and yeah, I've learned so much from my guests that it's great.
Yeah, I find interviewing guests easier. I do a combination of everything, but yeah, interviewing guests is easier. I can put together question lists pretty easy, to the point where I'm comfortable just showing up and starting asking questions. I know my guests aren't,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's easier for me. But I do both. I love both. On average, will people that watch your shorts also watch long form videos you upload?
That's a really
Which is
good
a
question.
very interesting question, because your shorts are snippets from your long form.
Yeah. So I'm still trying to figure out how to transfer. I think in theory, the answer is yes, but it has to be, and I've learned how to do, and Liam and I have worked with another member of the reptile community as well, like learning how to create good shorts. And I think as long, so I'll say the mistake that I used to make with shorts is I would use the short as a preview for the podcast, but then basically leave it as like a cliffhanger. And so you'd watch the short, and at the end, the theory was, oh, you've just watched the short, you're left on a cliffhanger. Now I got to go watch the full podcast to get the answer to that cliffhanger. And really, that's really frustrating to people, because if they're flipping through their shorts, they're not going to jump over to a 90-minute. So what you want is give them a clip that's highly interesting, gives them a really useful piece of information or a piece of story, and then that sticks in their brain. And then maybe they, hey, I think I would love to listen to that later today when I'm driving to work or something like that. So I think yes, the answer is yes. I'm still learning how to make that transition happen consistently.
Yeah, on my side, I have not found a way to use shorts as a way to bring people to the long form. And at this point, I've essentially stopped trying to do that. And I just consider my shorts audience a completely different audience than my long form audience. And just like on Instagram, my stories audience is different than my reels audience. And I hate putting links in my stories. I mean, I do it for this series, but generally speaking, people don't. I mean, I look at the stats. People don't like to jump out of what they decided they wanted to enjoy. They don't want to go into something else. So,
yeah, that's totally true. It's like my toddler. You can't shift gears.
yes.
If we're doing this is what we're doing.
So, let's see. Liam is liking safe content. Says Dillon, don't rock the boat.
Yeah, Liam's used to rocking the boat.
Yes. Yes. Those of you who know Liam know why this is a joke. And poor Yvette is a total introvert too.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Gonna try to follow this series and upload more. Excellent. I think that is the thing, is when you create content, you are verbalizing, you're taking what's in your head and you're making it real when you try to put it into words. And that's how you share experiences, and that's how the community grows.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, now we've got a movement going on.
See, there we go. Awesome.
Got introverts putting together.
The quietest house party we could have.
When trying to build an audience, would it be easier to try and follow trends or attempt to be more original?
These are really good questions. People are coming up with awesome questions. I think it can be useful to follow a trend, but it can also be super gimmicky. And I think that's where you have to be careful, is it, especially in the reptile world, especially lately, it seems like we've had some like larger stories that have broken, whatever they are, just different things. And people make a video on them, but they're not really adding anything to it. So it just, I don't know how that might make a video on your channel do really well, but I don't know how well it would translate to your growth as a creator. You'll see that all the time. You'll find a video that has like 10 million views, and then the channel maybe has like 30,000 subscribers that they got off that video, and every video they now put out has like 800 views, because that viral video doesn't really have any relationship to the content they create. So I think you have to be careful with that. Can you kind of, like, I'm sort of working on a video right now, or a concept of a video that I think will be topical. Maybe I won't even say what it is yet, because I want to make sure I'm actually going to do it first. But it will be sort of following a trend, but I'm going to spend a ton of time doing it. I'm going to put my own spin on it and make sure that the content is really originally like my thoughts. And I think if you can do that, it's fine to use trends because it's just going to bring people to your channel.
And see, I'll say it's a good idea to take audience and break it up into two buckets. There's subscribers and there's your community. And subscribers are the metric that you get on YouTube, and that's what everybody judges your channel on. That's how big your channel is. And so that number is important. It's not I know we call it a vanity metric, but it's how you're judged. It gets your foot in a lot of doors. And then there's community, and these are the people that are really dedicated to what you're talking about. It's not like they gave you a subscribe as a thank you for making them laugh and they'll never come back again. These are the people who really believe in what you're doing. So trends can easily bring in people, and so they take a look at what you're doing, but then you've got to somehow make them part of your community and make them stay. And that's okay. The long form content, that's the substantial stuff that you make. And so I would say decide what's important for your channel, because everybody's purpose is different. And if you're going to follow trends, make sure you do it in a way so all of those, say you hit it viral, make sure all those people who come in will want to consume your long form content. And so I guess that's great. You just put a period on that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I edit on my phone. CapCut is a good choice. Stinky, you edit long form video on your phone?
It looks like Brad Bioactive as well does that.
All right. Yeah. And sorry, everybody, we are, I am, as per usual, way behind in the chat. So we'll get to your stuff, but we're going to give good answers. Editing is frustrating. Yes. Learning editing is miserable. My daughter edits her dog videos on the phone. Excellent. Eliza Ann's learning from her daughter. Yeah. Hey, Nate. I was recently set on fire, and editing on CapCut was still more painful.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, he definitely was set on fire. So,
wow. Excellent. Q question. Do you think YouTube will better the algorithm to promote live streams?
Well, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but I've noticed when I'm flipping through shorts, I end up on live stream shorts. Like it's in the portrait mode and it's somebody live streaming. It's very weird. I don't know what it is. And quite often I have like 200 or 300 people viewing it. So it's not like it's a crazy, like millions where it's like it would make sense for it to get pumped into the algorithm on like on the homepage or something. So I think YouTube is starting to play with live streaming a little bit more.
Yeah, I will say on my live streams, I do 2 a week, and I don't get any bump for it. It strengthens my community and deepens my community, but the growth is glacial.
Yeah.
And in fact, anybody, I actually lose subscribers when I do my live streams. So, which it shouldn't be that way. I mean, who really says, wow, there's a live stream, I'm going to unsubscribe this channel? I mean, what the heck's up with that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
But every live stream, I don't get a whole lot. I rarely, if ever, get growth from live stream. I will get 0 subscribers or -1. And
interesting.
And I don't understand that, but this is another example of where I know what my purpose is. My purpose is to deepen the community, and the live streams are the cornerstone of my community. So go ahead, leave. I don't go. I'm continuing this because it is so, the community of the Chameleon Academy is so important. That is the prime, that is the most valuable part of the Chameleon Academy. So, so it doesn't bother me that someone in the YouTube universe decides, hey, I don't like live streams. Fine.
Yeah.
Let's see. Uh-oh. Eliza tried editing. So, so you're going to start with shorts. Feels less overwhelming. That is true. I'm going to try to speed up here. See if I can catch up on the chats. With a little, yes, you are absolutely correct. Tanner is awesome. Hey, that's a good one right there. How long into the future are your episodes planned out and recorded?
Oh, that's a good question. It really depends. I tend to go through waves where I find like I'll bulk like 4 or 5, maybe 6 episodes over a 3 to 4 week span of recording. So that means I'll be averaging maybe 2 a week type thing I'm recording. And typically we're getting them out between 7 and 10 days. So I probably have 2 or 3 episodes in the bank that are already recorded that people won't hear till the end of the month or even early December. So sometimes it can be as much as a month or even 6 weeks, and sometimes it's only 2 weeks before an episode comes up. But it's never like I record an episode and it's out the next day. It takes a bit of time to get it out.
Yeah, that sounds very responsible, and follow Dillon's lead. I have a chaotic schedule, and that is directly my fault for having so many different outreaches, and I have in so many different ways. And so that's something I need to fix in 2025, is not having so many outreaches and having focus. But ideally, I have at least 2 weeks of episodes ready to go. Sometimes I'm finishing it up the day before I want to release. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am a huge advocate for batching.
Yes.
And it's my life. It's like, do as I say, not as I do. So I got to work on myself. So there we go. Someone likes, Leslie-Ann likes your shorts.
See, there we go. They work sometimes.
So Dan, listen to the podcast unless Dillon promises pictures. Rarely watch. Yeah, and I've found people listen to YouTube, and so
yes.
I'm actually going to be creating some of my podcasts and put them on YouTube, and just say at the beginning, hey, everybody, no pictures, just go along your life, live your life, and listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Brad's asking, what's up, Dillon and Bill? I'll let you answer that while
We're doing well, Brad. Good to see you. Good to hear from you.
There we go. Is it better to make videos on specific animals, ideas, or just about reptiles in general? Ooh.
I think it just really depends. It depends. I think it's better to make videos on things that you are at least somewhat knowledgeable in, or at least have some experience in. I think it can be tough to make content on stuff that you don't really know about. I mean, unless you're like me and you get to do a podcast where I don't know anything, I get to ask people questions. That's anybody's welcome to steal that model, because it makes me not have to know anything. Uh-huh. But so if you have a group of animals that you're working with, and you can kind of niche down and give really good content. If you're just talking about reptiles in general, I mean, it can be tough to find an audience that wants to watch just reptiles in general, unless the video quality is excellent, or maybe the presentation skills are very good, which maybe they are. But if it's so general, then how do you capture people in?
Yeah, Deacon, the reptile community is so diverse. We're called a community, but chameleon people and ball python people, there's a little bit of overlap, but not a whole lot. And so when you have a reptile channel, you need to find something that's common between all reptile people, or else you still start losing people when you gain this niche, but you lose this niche. Yeah. Something like Dillon's doing is pretty tough. But the reason why, and I'll go ahead and put my opinion in this, the reason why Dillon is successful is because he has a reptile channel, but he has a focus of improving husbandry. And so that is the common theme, which does spread across all the different communities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I should ask you, do you agree with my assessment of your life?
No, yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, that's the common thread that runs through, and it allows me to have the similar conversation about different topics over and over.
I love talking about editing on mobile. There's easier ways to torture yourself. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's edited my longest video on my phone, took most of the night.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Not only does it take long to do it, but then to output it, export it.
Mm-hmm.
So, how far do you think unedited reptile content can go? Like the stuff from 10 years ago types. Okay, I'm not sure I understand. Do you understand what unedited reptile content means?
Does he just, or this person, maybe they mean like just kind of that old school reptile YouTube where it's like a guy with his weird video camera and just, cut like zero editing, just presses record and then presses stop. I mean, some of that stuff, it's been on there for so long, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
I would say if you can do it in an entertaining manner, you can start a new trend. And that's all it takes. Everybody loves something different. But you just have to, it has to be entertaining in some way or eye-catching, mind-catching in some way, or else, yeah, it's just going to be like all the other stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
Portrait mode live streams are being pushed by YouTube. Okay.
Okay, that answers my question.
Yeah. Okay. I have found vertical live streams to be a great way of getting subscribers. Okay, then. Well, maybe I ought to try. I'm gonna make fruit fly cultures this evening. Maybe I'll try a vertical live stream.
Why not?
If you are not passionate about making videos, but you want to share information about reptiles that you have learned, would YouTube be a good idea?
Well, the video
it's got to be hard for you.
It's going to become very tedious, I think.
But I just asked, you want to share information. Well, what are you good at? If you're good at speaking, podcasts. If you're good at writing, there's blogs, and Google's algorithm will send you across the internet. If you're good like video, well, here we are. There's different outlets that you can use. So what are you passionate about? What do you like? And just go with that. If you don't like video, YouTube's not going to be a real good place to be.
And I guess it depends on how you define video. Like, you don't have to be in front of the camera. You can do videos that's behind the scenes or showing kind of maybe not just PowerPoint, but things like that, where you're showing text and B-roll, that sort of thing. That could work. That definitely does work. I mean, there's tons of channels out there that are no face.
So what I'm hearing is Dylan's going to get -1 subs. Yeah, sorry about that, Dylan.
I'll update everybody later.
Okay, let's go. All right. Struggling with camera shots. Tried a few videos. When I watched them, they looked like garbage. I'm better at taking pictures. How do you get good at being on camera, Dylan?
I guess it depends on what they look like garbage. So usually the biggest thing with making the footage look good is lighting, and I think that's typically what people don't know how to do. So it's much better to have a lot more light, and it depends on the camera, and you layer on all these things. But even with the smartphone, you can get pretty good quality footage just from the little cameras on those phones. I mean, that's how I started my YouTube channel. But without good lighting, things get grainy really fast. So if you're dealing with grain or something along those lines, then you can buy cheap lights on Amazon film lights. They're like $30 or $40, and that's more than enough to just give yourself an adequate light in the shot. So that's typically what I would say.
Chameleon Academy was good when it was just audio format. Then when you start it, and I guess my golden years are behind me. But there we go. Oh, no, actually it was. It went on. When the Chameleon Academy was just audio, it was good. And now that you have lives on YouTube, just brought the interaction to another level. All right. So it was an encouragement. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you.
That was an emotional roller coaster.
Oh, I tell you. It's like, oh, man. Glory days, Bill. But no.
It's all good.
Thank you very much, Ron. I believe that's Ron. Yeah, it's really fun doing lives because, especially across platforms, because I now have 3 names for everybody.
Yes, I know. You're trying to just put it all together. Luckily, a lot of them use the same display picture, so it gets logged.
Yes. Okay. All right. Let's go. I am not seeing some of this chat. Okay, it's probably because this is being simulcast on both Animals at Home podcast as well as Mystic Forest Dragons, and so the chat, I haven't actually seen it, but it probably is splitting up the chat. So everybody just be understanding that you have a parallel dimension that we are interacting with.
A bifurcated live chat.
Yes, so you will see, at least you will see the questions that we bring up. Okay. Oh, there we go. How do you keep your personal information private while at the same time you are filming at home or talking about your life?
Well, I'm fairly private. I mean, I don't talk a ton about my personal life. I'll talk a little, like just the vague things, a rough location where I live, my job, small family things, but I don't say a ton. So really to answer that question, you just don't talk a ton about your personal life if you don't want to share it. And I don't know if I can recommend one way or the other. I think it's the internet. It's going to be out there forever. Maybe sharing tons of your personal information is not the best. And then as far as keeping it private while you film, it's very easy for me because I have one camera shot essentially, and it's designed as a set, so I know what I'm filming. But I do remember when I would do like DIY tutorials and whatnot, I would go edit it and be like, oh, there's some weird stuff in the background, or my wife would be like, why did you put all those dirty dishes in the background? Because you don't even pay attention to when you're filming it, and then when you're editing it, you're like, oh my god. So just being very conscientious of what you have in your frame is really important as well.
All right, and it's a great question that I don't have a good answer at with. I started a long time ago and never really, I don't put my personal information out there, but it's not hard to find me. I've got a business, I send things out, and I've got a business address, but there's just so much of me out there, and of me personally. If you're part of the chameleon community, I have been online since the early 2000s. You can put together pretty much follow my life for 2.5 decades. And, I'm not going to say that's the safest thing, and I'm not going to recommend anybody do that. I got started before internet privacy was really a thing. Mm-hmm. But the question is, how am I going to do this outreach without people knowing my name? Some people are doing that. And we've got people who use a different name for their YouTube channel. You never know their real name. We got some people that do faceless YouTube, so you don't know what they look like. And so that's what you can do. It's always an option, and you can do those things very well. So I don't have an answer for this, and I wish I did. And I've had people that threaten they are going to find me. And okay, so it's some stupid Roblox kid that wants to just be a big man on YouTube. But there will be people out there that get angry with you and want to track you down. So yeah, it's a risk. And it's a challenge. So Dillon, what was something that was is there something that kept you from starting YouTube?
I just pure embarrassment. Like, that's simply as it was. I was embarrassed at the concept of it. I was embarrassed at telling people I put videos on YouTube. I was embarrassed of people who I didn't know seeing me on YouTube. And the best advice, other than, we said, just like just keep putting out videos. One of the best things you can do is literally just realize that nobody cares for the most part, especially when you're starting. It's the people that care are the ones that are going to find you and actually like your content. The people that don't like your content really don't care. And I remember, like I said earlier in this conversation, I didn't tell anybody about my YouTube channel in my life until probably a full year or more into it. I'd already released like 10 or 15 episodes of the podcast. Like, that's how subconscious I was about it. And then I told them, and it's like, they don't care.
Just don't care.
Like, they just don't care. Like, they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's interesting. And sometimes they say they'll pretend that they're going to listen to it, but but it's just, then you realize it just doesn't matter. Like, if you're interested in doing it, just go do it.
Yeah. And I'll say the thing, I don't even have to list the things that kept me from doing certain aspects. But what I'll say is the way I got over it, every single thing that embarrassment, can't talk in front of the camera, other physical aspects that people keep bringing up in the chat, in the comments. And it's like, you just take every single thing that is keeping you from doing it and you attack it head on. And it's just like, I couldn't speak to the camera. And so I hit live with no preparation, totally scared, but facing that fear. And it was rough. It was tough doing that and committing to myself that I was going to do a complete hour of live, because I knew I could like fake it for 10 minutes, but an hour? No. And so I did that, and now doing live sessions is so second nature to me. It's easy. And I'll roll out of bed, I got a live session, and within 5 minutes, hey everybody, let's do this. and I don't mean to say that as in, wow, this is so easy, I'm so great. It's because it took me 3 years of forcing myself to do this, and it was grueling at the beginning. So I just want to say, if there's something that's keeping you from starting this YouTube channel, attack it head on.
Yeah.
And post your attempts at doing it, knowing that, it's like starting your channel is like a blank page, and it's always hardest putting down the first word. Once you get the first video out, and then okay, I just changed these little things, and you just make it better. You've got 52 weeks in a year. You've got time to become better. So I say just attack the things that are keeping you from putting up your first YouTube video.
Yeah, exactly.
And so let's see. Totally agree. Being confident in videos is what I'm trying to work on.
Yeah, that just takes practice.
Yeah. And so what kind of things are you, taking away the direction of your video channel? What kind of things are you working on personally that you want to get better at?
I want to get better at extracting better stories from the guests, and something that happens when I've recorded like 220, 230 podcast episodes at this point, and suddenly I found myself getting into a pattern where it becomes like second nature, which is good, but then that also creates a groove where you're almost doing, like, one of the things I'm challenging myself with right now, people will kind of maybe slowly see this over the next couple of episodes, is trying to avoid starting the episode with, hey, how did you get started in reptiles? It's like,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
I stole your thing. It's like, I've asked that question 200 times and almost everybody gives the same answer. It's like, I don't need to keep asking, but it's such an easy question. It's kind of a crutch in a way. It eases you into the conversation. So I'm like trying to, and I find myself when I listen to the Reptile podcast, I don't I'm normally not interested in that question either, because we kind of all know what it's going to be. So how do you start an episode, introduce the guest to people, but in a way that's like, boom, let's get into a story. So that's what I'm really working on now, is like getting that story out of the person and not relying on the basic questions, and trying to expand outside of just like, how do you care for that animal? What lights do you have?
Yeah, I go straight into the main topic. No, none of this leading up. I go straight into I ask a question straight into the main topic and just go from there. And
Yeah.
it's so much more fulfilling. And it's like, okay, we're just getting straight to why people came here in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. Because the previous thinking would be, okay, I want this episode to be hit that 60 minutes. I should use up 15 minutes giving a background. I don't want the episode to be over before it starts by kind of getting to the meat and potato. But no, you can start with the headline and then get into that stuff later, and it's almost better.
If it's relevant, you get into it later.
Exactly.
But let's see. Ooh, you work with AI, or are you planning to?
I don't work with AI, and I barely know what it means. I know what it is, obviously, and my wife sometimes says, "Hey, I looked this up on ChatGPT and it told me this," but I've not used AI. I haven't really used it for any like artwork or thumbnails or anything. I was at one point kind of using it for titles, but I think it was leading me astray a little bit. So yeah, I haven't done too much with it.
I will say, Jenny, AI is an incredibly powerful tool, but you need to develop skills in how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been using AI quite a bit, but it isn't to the point where I can actually make content from it. I can use it to help me find information, but I always have to recheck it, because I've caught it a couple of more than a couple of times. I'm constantly checking it and I'm correcting it, and it says, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're right." Yeah, I'm right. How come you're not right?
Yeah, computer genius.
Yeah, man. I asked you about reptile hookworms, and you talked to me about human hookworms. Don't do that. I'm going to catch you on it. Difference, dude. So I think AI is right now at this point, it's going to get better. And this is going to be a conversation we continually have. I've had it do a podcast episode for me, and I had to just toss it all away because it just wasn't good enough. Or I wasn't good enough giving it enough of a prompt.
Yeah.
But I gave it a whole page of prompts, and I said, "Okay, do this in my voice." And it's just not to the point where I can make content using its script, even if I feed it.
Yes.
I find it's very helpful for me to get me started as far as YouTube channels, titles, because the video titles are a weakness of mine. Making it a hook, I don't have it in me to sensationalize things, and so I say, ChatGPT, please sensationalize this.
Yeah.
And it'll give me something, because it has no problem sensationalizing things, and it gives me something to work. I say, give me 10 options for this, and it gives me something to work with.
Yeah.
But it's going to get better. And I mean, you look on YouTube and you can see the AI generated videos, and you say, "Oh gosh," but
yeah, there's tons of those, and some people are saying the AI used for captions, and that's 100% true. I mean, that's one thing that it's very good at. Any of those auto caption, especially for shorts and reels, like that's one area I use AI. I guess it's AI. I use it all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Transcripts. Oh, that's
huge. Nice. Yeah. And that's gotten so much better over the last, even just a couple of years. I'm like, damn, how did it know that word? Like it's a mumbled word or even a Latin word, and boom, there it is.
Yeah. So it's a powerful tool, and it's going to get more powerful. How do you guys prioritize projects with so many ideas and topics? Oh my goodness. This is a great question.
Yeah. This will be more of a question for Bill, I bet, because he's got a million irons in the fire, where I'm pretty clinical with mine. It's the podcast. I put it out as many as every 7 to 10 days or 7 to 14 days. And I'm not doing many other things. It's just looking for guests. So it's a pattern. I look for guests. I connect with them. I book a time. We do it. get the files uploaded to Liam to edit. So it becomes like a system where I'm not doing a million different things.
Yeah, this is a great question for me because I got too many things that I am doing. I do reptile entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurial stuff. I love chameleon stuff. I love um, general reptile stuff. And I really want to work on niche content creator, which is just about content creation and building community. So between that and also I'm so involved in the chameleon community, not just reporting what's going on and having a community channel, but where we're going as a community. How do we solve the problems of burnout in breeders? And so I have a purpose for pushing forward. And so when it comes down to how to prioritize projects, it's very difficult. And I realize that number one, my mental health is a thing, and doing too much spread out means you're not effective on anything. And so the way I prioritize projects is I sit down, I have a purpose for every outreach that I have and every, and I say, what is important? What will get me there? I have a lot of great ideas. And this series is one of those great ideas. But I do have to say, okay, is this getting you in a certain direction? Is it going to make forward progress, or are you doing it just because it's cool and it hasn't been done before? And so you got to do it because it's fun. And that's what helps me. Now,
I will say too, I have an episode coming out, not next one, but the one after, that is actually all about prioritizing projects inside herpetoculture space, but it transfers to everything. So to shamelessly plug an episode, that will be helpful for people.
All right. So it's always there are some people who have the problem of what do I do next? And there are some people that have the problem of, okay, how do I fit this into a one lifetime?
Yeah.
And stepping out of yourself and saying, instead of what do I feel, and saying, okay, where do I want to go with this? Then you can start putting things in order as to how to get somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. Words of wisdom. Refuse to use AI. Seen The Matrix. I know how this ends.
Good call.
Skynet. All right. Yeah. And then we can start closing it down. Everybody, we're gonna it's coming to the end of the hour, so put any last questions in the comments. But we'll have Amy's Reptile Adventures. I'm just gonna ask that: how do you get over feeling comfortable putting yourself in front of the camera? Even have one of those fancy tripod ring lights so I can do so. Haven't used it yet.
Yeah, it's just, honestly, you just have to do it. And it kind of goes back to the piece of advice I gave before. Most people just won't care, even though it's like all you can think about is yourself on the camera. Like, you'll look great on camera. People will just think that it's just for people watching your videos and you appearing on the camera, it's just totally the normal expectation. That's what they expect to see. Where from your point of view, you're like, oh my God, I'm putting myself out there for everybody to see. So there's that's the juxtaposition where the viewer just doesn't think anything of it and you think everything of it. So it's just about getting out there, and the more you do, the easier it gets.
Yeah, I will. Actually, Friday's episode was all about doing this. I would say, and so you can go take a look at Friday's episode. Misty Forest Dragons is all about getting comfortable in front of the camera. But I'll say, talk to yourself out loud. And a lot of times people look at the camera and they freeze. And so all the thoughts inside their head just blank out, or they can't come out your mouth. And so I just talk in the car, in the shower, just talk.
Me too. Talk. The car. I'm talking a lot in the car.
Oh yeah, boy. I got great ideas in the car and shower. And then put your camera, your phone in front of you, and talk to the camera. Hit record. You're not gonna upload this, but hit record. A lot of times you hit record, and that's when your brain goes etch a sketch. So, by the way, anybody know what an etch a sketch here is? Showing my age. That means it blanks.
Yeah.
So when you know you're recording, you got that red light that makes your brain blank. Hit that and just talk to the phone and force yourself to keep talking. You don't get the option of stopping talking. And what this does is training yourself to continue going. And like I did, I went live. You don't have the option of saying, gosh, this is a stupid thing. You've got to be on. And so that is what I recommend to people is just get up the strength to go live. Hit that button. Nobody is going to be there to begin with until somebody is, and then you're interacting with somebody and then they go away. And so you've got to continually speak to the camera to keep the show going, because when somebody comes into the room, they need to see that there's action going on or they'll leave. And so you have that, start with 10 minutes, then go with half an hour. But that really gets you to the point where you can speak to the camera. And I know it is challenging. It is not easy. It is it took me 2 years before I could really start my YouTube channel. That was 2 years when I said, I've got to start my YouTube channel. And 2 years of my wife, Yvette, telling me, so how's that YouTube channel going? So I'm giving this advice, but I can tell you, I know how hard it is. And it's one of those things, you just jump in the deep end, you do it. And you load up that YouTube video, even though you're talking like a robot and doing your best to keep on talking. Put it up.
Yeah.
Put it up. The next time you're going to do better. In the future, if it really embarrasses you, you can take it down. But just the act of putting it up and making it go live, it's different than when you just are doing it in your house and not putting it live. So I just jump in the deep end.
And the one thing I would add to that as well is talking points versus script. I think sometimes people will tend to over script their initial videos and they're writing like word by word what they want to say. And that's where you really get the Etch-a-Sketch brain, where you like fumble over your words. So I find it a lot easier to have like talking points. They can be even printed out behind the camera or somewhere where you can see. And it's just enough for you to conversationally talk about what you're trying to say, and you have the reminders. And you can pause and edit whatever it is. But when you're trying to like recite everything word by word, that's where you get the robot situation.
Yeah. I can't read off of a script, or else
it's impossible.
I'm either reading or else I'm going off the top of my head. It's like there's no middle ground. I can have an outline and I can say, okay, that's what I need to talk about, I think, and then I talk to the camera. Everybody has their own thing. If you're really good at memorizing, more power to you. That's not me.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have one last question here, other than Liam asking what's an Etch-a-Sketch. You really have to make me say it. How do you guys decide on guests or topics for your podcasts?
That used to be something I would worry about. How am I going to have all these guests? I'm going to run out of people, but they sort of just come to me naturally. Either people will reach out and recommend things, or I'll find people on Instagram. Or my own audience will recommend people. So it's sort of all three. I get recommendations, I find people, or the guest comes to me. And so it's actually a lot easier than you'd think.
Yeah. And I'm going to include this with Twig and Snip is asking, how do you deal with creator burnout? The answer to these questions is both the same with me. For me, I live it. And when you, like for my chameleon content or my content creation, I live it. And so I am not trying to say, okay, what can I do next? I just say, what am I doing in my life? And this is what I'm doing next. With my chameleon keeping, I am trying different hydration methods. I'm pushing things forward. I want to figure out, how do we solve these problems? And so my podcast ends up being more of a manifesto and where I want to go. And if you're really living it, you just report on what's going through your mind at the time, and you find guests that you ask questions to. I am growing in my chameleon husbandry, and I love my show because it allows me to talk to whomever I want to and pick their brain for an hour. And so with my show, you get that energy of somebody who's dynamically growing and moving forward. And that's why I've been able to have a show on chameleons. Next year is going to be my 10th anniversary.
That's
and
amazing.
I'm still trying to adapt small batch breeding to the chameleon experience. And I mean, so I've got this rich subject group going forward. And by the way, everybody, small batch breeding, that's how I learned about Dillon, is the interview with TC Houston about small batch breeding.
That's right. Yeah. So it all connects in the end.
Yes. All right, everybody. We're going to close up here. I want to say, first of all, this has been a simulcast on 2 channels. Dillon has the Animals at Home podcast, which is an excellent show about where we're going, the future of herpetoculture. This is Misty Forest Dragons, which is my channel that I'm trying to probably combine everything that I want to do other than chameleons, which will have Chameleon Academy still going forward. But there's so much that I want to do with reptiles and entrepreneurship. And so this is going to be a channel that does that. And right now we're in the middle of a November theme of start your own reptile YouTube channel. And every weekday, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m., we launch an episode that's a tutorial. I have 20 episodes that are coming out throughout November. Every 1 p.m. Pacific live, it premieres, which means there's a live chat. So if you want to join us for the first showing, there's a live chat with me and the people who love doing it. And so you can come and you can chat with us. But it's a complete chronological series. And next week, tomorrow, the first day, we're going to be talking about the styles of videos on YouTube. Then we're going to be talking about the formats, like we have like interviews and solo and such. And then we're going to be talking about the equipment. It's all about releasing your first video. And like I said, we've got Yvette, my wife, going through it. And every day in the middle of the episode, we catch up with her on how it's going. And she just released her first video yesterday. So we're going to be talking about that tomorrow. So thank you, Leos. By the way, Dillon's
Awesome.
podcast. All right. Any last words from you, Dillon?
First, thank you so much for having me on. This is always fun. Like I said at the beginning, you're the king of great ideas. So you have a million things going on. And every time you come up with an idea, I'm like, damn, that's a good idea. So awesome job doing this. And for anybody that's either just starting their YouTube journey or wants to, again, do it. If you want to reach out to me for advice, I'm happy to answer questions or just give feedback on things. And if you want to send me a video for me to take a look at when I have time, I absolutely will do that. So there's never too many of us out there, and everybody can kind of bring their own value. So I hope that it's encouraged people to give it a try, and I will be a subscriber when you do.
Excellent. All right, everybody. We'll see you later.
See you later.